I don't think no man is really gonna ever like can't just come to me and just rock my world. Like, you're not gonna blow my mind. Cause it's something that you not doing that I like, that I need to let you know that
Like
I like.
what would you, if somebody asked you, what do you like? What would you say? She know what she, but she don't want to say it.
I love Jersey.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you about your makeup line, rimmed by Ari. What inspired it, and where is it going next?
So when I was younger, I used to like to play in makeup, and I learned how to do my makeup on YouTube.
Okay.
And I just used to like to play in a lot of products, and I was like, I want to have my own stuff, like. And so I just think that Remedy, I came up with my own perfect fix to exactly what I like about makeup, and like I put it out.
Before we get into the main story, Ari Fletcher just put Jayda on notice. She took to Twitter saying whoever keeps subbing her is going to get embarrassed all over the internet. She didn't name names, but when a fan replied saying Jayda had already shown her out, Ari retweeted it and made sure everyone saw her response. She said Jayda never showed her anything. She could have let it go. She specifically chose not to. Now the internet is watching to see if Jayda responds, and given their history, most people think she will. For context, these two used to be extremely close before falling off. A few months ago, Jayda came out publicly claiming Ari had been sleeping with her baby daddy Lil Baby for a significant period of time. Ari never directly addressed it. A lot of people read that silence as confirmation, because if there was nothing to it, most people felt Ari would have said something, and people who watched their dynamic on Impact ATL pointed out that Ari was allegedly throwing subtle shade at Jayda for a long time, telling her to check on her baby daddy and then playing it off as nothing when Jayda called it out. Whether this escalates further remains to be seen, but the energy between them right now is not friendly. Now, the story that has Black America genuinely heated. The verdict came back in the Karmelo Anthony case, and the reaction has been intense. Here's the full breakdown of what happened, what was argued in court, and why the response goes so much deeper than just this one case. On April 2nd, 2025, 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony from Frisco, Texas was at a high school track meet at Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco. Bad weather had moved in, and athletes were sheltering under their team tents. Karmelo walked over to Memorial High School's tent, not his school's tent. He said he went to see a friend, but the person he was looking for, an 18-year-old named Eddie Pera, testified on the stand that he wouldn't even call Karmelo a friend, said they barely exchanged 3 words total, and that it struck him as odd that Karmelo was in their tent at all, since teams are supposed to stay at their own. While Karmelo was still under that tent, multiple students started asking him to leave. Words were exchanged between Karmelo and 17-year-old Austin Medoff. Austin pushed Karmelo. Karmelo then pulled out a pocket knife and stabbed Austin in the chest. The medical examiner testified that the wound was over 2 inches wide and struck the heart, described as not survivable. Austin ran down the bleachers after being stabbed, grabbing his chest and telling people around him to get help. A football coach from another school named Josh Redmond got Austin on the ground and applied pressure to the wound with his hands. He said it felt like 10 minutes before paramedics arrived, and he already knew Austin was gone before they got there. First responders confirmed Austin had no pulse when they arrived. He never made it to the hospital. On the body camera footage from when the officer arrived, Karmelo said simply, "I did it." The trial started June 1st in McKinney, Texas. Over 21 witnesses were called by the prosecution. It ran for about 9 days before the jury deliberated, which many people noted was unusually fast for a murder case with that many witnesses. Usually that kind of trial runs weeks. The prosecution's argument was straightforward. Karmelo was the aggressor. He entered a tent that wasn't his. He refused to leave when multiple students asked him to. Witnesses testified he told Austin directly, "Touch me and see what happens." Austin then pushed him, and Karmelo stabbed him through the heart with a 3.5-inch blade. Multiple teenage witnesses, most of them Austin's teams at Memorial High, all said the same thing. Karmelo was the one provoking. Nobody ganged up on him, and he was the one who refused to leave. The defense argued self-defense from day one. They tried to establish that it was common for athletes to move between tents at track meets and called Karmelo's own track coach to back that up. The coach confirmed that athletes do mingle at meets, but under cross-examination admitted that if someone asks you to leave a tent, you should leave, and that there is no reason for an athlete to bring a knife to a track meet at all. That testimony backfired on the defense significantly. They also pointed to inconsistencies between what some witnesses said in court versus what they told investigators right after the incident. Karmelo did not take the stand. He never testified in his own defense. A lot of people had feelings about that, but it's worth understanding why defense teams make that call. When you put your client on the stand, the prosecution gets to cross-examine them. If the person isn't fully prepared for how those questions are going to come at them, it can go sideways fast, even when they're telling the truth. The risk of looking inconsistent or getting rattled under pressure often outweighs the benefit. It doesn't mean he had nothing to say. It means his legal team made a calculation about the safest path. After less than 3 hours of deliberation, the jury came back with a guilty verdict for first-degree murder. Karmelo was sentenced to 35 years in prison. He could be eligible for parole after serving approximately 17.5 years. Now here's something important that a lot of people had mixed up, including people who were discussing the case online. In many states, first-degree murder requires premeditation, meaning the killing was planned in advance. Texas law works differently. Under Texas law, murder simply means the defendant intentionally and knowingly caused someone's death. Premeditation is not required, so the first-degree conviction in this case is not saying Karmelo planned this out ahead of time. It's saying the act was intentional. But the jury composition is what has really set people off. There was not a single black juror on that jury. The prosecution removed all 3 remaining eligible black jurors from the pool. Karmelo's defense team challenged this immediately by filing a Batson challenge, a legal motion arguing that jurors were removed specifically because of their race. The judge rejected the challenge because the prosecution provided race-neutral explanations. Their stated reason for removing the black jurors was that they were educators, and this case involved school policy. That reasoning landed hard for a lot of people. The argument being made online and by legal commentators is that educators would actually have relevant knowledge about how school environments and track meets work, which would seem to make them more qualified, not less, for a case involving a school event. One of the 3 black jurors who was dismissed did say during vetting that he would have a hard time putting a brother in jail, which gave the prosecution clearer grounds for that removal. But the other 2 were educators without that kind of statement on record. Legal experts are already saying the exclusion of those jurors is going to be a central argument in Karmelo's appeal. And then there's the broader reaction that goes beyond the legal arguments. When Black America looks at this verdict, they aren't just seeing a 19-year-old from Frisco. They're seeing a pattern. They're seeing the Central Park 5. They're seeing Lena Baker, who claimed self-defense and was executed anyway. They're seeing every black defendant who sat in front of an all-white jury and didn't stand a chance. The question a lot of people are asking out loud is whether the self-defense argument would have landed differently if the races had been reversed, if a white kid had been in Karmelo's position and a black kid had been in Austin's. That's not a simple question, and it's not one with a clean answer. What it is a question that gets asked every single time a verdict like this comes down. Because for a lot of black people, this verdict doesn't exist in isolation. It exists on top of 400 years of a legal system that was built in ways that didn't account for their humanity. That's why the reaction isn't just about what happened at a track meet in Frisco in 2025. It's about what this moment represents in a much longer story. Austin Madoff's family lost their son. That is real, and that loss is undeniable. And Karmelo Anthony is a 19-year-old who is now looking at decades behind bars. Both of those things are true simultaneously. The debate isn't about whether the stabbing happened. It did, and Karmelo admitted it on camera. The debate is about whether the process that followed was fair, whether the jury was truly representative, and whether the outcome would have been the same if every variable except race had stayed identical. Drop a comment. Do you think the verdict was just? And do you think the jury composition changes how you see this case